Welcome back aboard BLERD Force 1 with your boys Mo and Ladi. And today we're reviewing X-Men 97, Episode 6. It's entitled Life Death Part 2, and it's come to you from Disney+. So, what did we think about it, and should you be watching? And before we get into this review, get down there, hit like on this video. Ladi, man, you got your books all ready? Are you got your hall pass ready? Because it looks like this week we're going back to school, particularly with Professor X. Professor X is, surprise, not dead. If you watch the original show, not dead. He's out in space with the Shi'ar to save him from mortal danger. And so it's been some time, and he's out there hanging out with his Shi'ar boo thing, Lilandra, and trying to move on up in the world. He's trying to marry royalty. So, but of course, the racist ass Shi'ar, they ain't trying to hear any of that. At the same time, we're back on Earth with Storm and Forge, and the Adversary, who has poisoned Forge, and he's on the brink of death unless Storm can go find some particular, medicine to save him. But also, can she save herself from the Adversary? So, Ladi, Life Death Part 2, not as big and impactful as Episode 5, or was it? What do you think?
I'm going to save that for later. I was going to say something, but I'm going to save it for later. I'm just going to say, good episode. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. Everyone's probably thinking like, damn, I wanted to see the fallout of the Red Wedding. Sometimes you need some resets. Sometimes you need some canon filler, as I would say. Something to basically cleanse the palace of that spicy meatball that we got last week. And this was the episode 4, and you said it right. The racist, what were they called? The Shi'ar?
The Shi'ar, yeah.
Yeah, the Shi'ar. They're so racist that they're stupid. It's the inferior human beings. Bro, I just put y'all in a pocket dimension and making y'all sit down in a chair. There's more like me on planet Earth. You wouldn't want to know.
It's yeah. By the way, this is a woke ass episode. This episode's so fucking woke, and it's so woke that some people are gonna miss it out of just like sheer ignorance, because they don't know that this is talking about them. You know what I'm saying? They don't realize that this episode is talking about them in several ways. I could tell that this was an episode, like, you're right, it's not as big and bold and kind of traumatic as the previous episode, and for good reason. You can't be doing that all the time. This is very much one of those episodes that is so X-Men. It's super X-Men, because this is the one where they beat you over the head with the message and hope that some of it sinks in, by osmosis. They beat you with a bat with it. And, this is about colonization and, racial assimilation or cultural assimilation, or just people with a superiority complex, and they're thinking that they've got a right to lord over other people. And someone who is from the so-called inferior, group, what they have to do to be accepted or, tolerated within that group. That's Professor X's thing. But also it parallels what's going on with Storm, who, while she's not directly dealing with that, she is dealing with self-limitation and the kind of an inbred need to diminish herself to make other people feel comfortable with her existing, and how that plays out in her powers, and how her powers have manifested to this point, how they fail to manifest after Forge fixes her, and how, the Adversary takes advantage of all of that kind of negativity within her to torment her and feed off of her. And the question is, can she stop making herself small so that so that she can be who she's meant to be? And it goes hand in hand with what's going on there. Lottie, I mean, we can get into spoilers sooner than like. I think this is a great episode. In fact, the more I think about, I actually think about this episode more than I think about episode 5, not because episode 5 wasn't huge and awesome, and I think it's a better episode just because of how impactful it was. But this episode is full of just like things that are going to sit with you and make you think, and they'll pop up in your head, and you'll just be like, you know what? He was really dropping some dimes, like left, right, and center. Like this episode, it's just a masterclass in trying to tell people about themselves and trying to tell them about where they're going wrong as far as dealing with other people. So Xavier literally takes them to school. There's a little classroom part in this, in the astral plane, and which I love. So Lottie, I've got more thoughts, but like, what do you think about all of the kind of the messaging going on in this one?
Yeah, you really opened my eyes, because I sort of saw that, but it makes more sense because, like you said, it's one of the things of like, it's true. It's one of the things that I see all the time because I own an African and Caribbean store, and one of the things that I've noticed anytime, one of my customers it's mainly a woman, she marries a white man or another man of a different culture. She comes to my store and then she says, "Oh, it's been so long since I've eaten African food." And I'm like, it saddens me when I hear her say that, because it's like, your husband married you, but he really didn't marry you. You know what I mean?
He married the you that you could safely present to him and to his people, as opposed to all of you.
Exactly.
The other rest of you needs to be boxed up and never talked about.
Exactly. I remember one time one of the customers, she came to the store with her husband. First time I ever seen the guy. She came because her mom was coming to visit, and she's no nonsense. She's not eating anything that is not Nigerian food. So before they left, my mom made a joke to her husband saying, this is the time we'll finally get you to eat Nigerian food. And that man vehemently shook his head like, no. Mm-mm. Like, not even jokingly. He's like, no. And I looked, and after he left, I said, she married him? And it's sad because it's like you just said, it's like they neuter you. You marry into this quote unquote powerful family or this, or marry up. They want you to kneecap yourself or become what they like. And instead of embracing the different cultures, and honestly, this is how some of the empires throughout human history were able to last so long. Like, for example, the Roman Empire. One of the reasons why the Roman Empire was able to last as long as it did is because they allowed their people they conquered to have to still do their culture as long as they paid the tax. We don't care who you call God or how do you do things. As long as you pay your tax, we'll leave you alone. And vice versa. The British Empire, even though the British Empire was a lot more powerful than the Roman Empire, had a lot more money, had a lot more this, they didn't last as long because you know why? They tried to neuter. And I guess, what happened? People fought back. And the country that fought back and won is the country that we live in, America. Even though it was their own people.
I'm about to say it's still more or less the same culture, but I like that you said kneecap, because that's almost literally what Professor X said when he schooled everybody, when after Deathbird basically is just like, all right, well, we're just gonna try, we're gonna take you out and we're gonna take Lilandra out, and he puts everybody into astral plane and it's like, I'm gonna explain why you're wrong about pretty much everything. And he literally said that he called the Shi'ar Empire a snake oil racket, wherein they find younger cultures, either destroy them or force them, kneecap them, force them to assimilate, force them to depend on the Shi'ar Empire as long as they get rid of everything about themselves to become
Yeah.
Shi'ar rather than be who they are. And this is blatantly like, look, it's outright without saying it, colonialism. And yeah, let's just call it what it is. European colonialism. Wherein, that happened across, many different countries, many different continents. People having to, get rid of their own culture in order to be safe within the European colonization.
Yeah.
And I love that he just, as he said several times, saying the quiet part out loud. Deathbird being outright racist, but she's unapologetic. She calls our part, Earth, the Milky Way's ghetto. And I'm like, if you don't see straight up what they're saying, like every buzzword possible is said by Deathbird or by one of the counselors, calling humans inferior races, and Charles being a mutant even more inferior. So there, his bargain to be able to marry Lilandra, to marry up, to become this, head of the Shi'ar Empire, or co-lead. He wouldn't, or to become her pet, more like, they're laughing but not really.
Yeah.
Was to literally forget everything he is, everywhere he came from, and to just be what the Shi'ar thinks he ought to be. And
yes,
I put something about this on Threads, and it's, as a black person, I've seen this, I've lived this, not completely, but I have, where you can't wear natural hair, you can't be, can't talk ghetto, you can't wear things a certain way, you can't talk a certain way. This, you can't associate with the wrong people, right? That's Charles that's his entire plot, subplot there, is that in order to marry up, to marry his better, to be sort of tolerated, not even accepted, just sort of tolerated, he has to pretend that he is not human and a mutant and a lover of humanity and a person that's proud of where he comes from. And my God, if you miss that, I need you to wake up. You need to become woke. You need to wake the fuck up, because that is the MO of many people's lives in this world. Look at any one black star, any one black athlete, any one black leader, and how often the power structure tries to stuff them into a box that's safe for the power structure, right? How often does that happen with many minorities, with gays and trans people, with people of different religions, all of that sort of stuff? How to make them it okay for them to exist around you, but not really exist, not be who they are. You got places in so-called tolerant Europe, like Sweden, trying to ban people wearing the hijab or burqas or whatever. Whether or not you agree with the reason for that, the reason for wearing them, trying to take that part of their culture away. This is like, this episode should have been called saying the quiet part out loud, because the quiet part is, hey, we're talking about you, European colonists, and even I'll say this, Chinese people do this too. They've been trying to culturally either assimilate or annihilate some ethnicities within their borders, right? This is not so I'm not saying this isn't just a white people thing. This is very much a who's in power and who has hegemony, and who are they trying to erase, as a culture, as a people. This is a heavier episode than most people maybe realize. And because at the front of it, you like Professor X, right, Ladi? You like Professor X, right? You like Lilandra. Lilandra is not as good a person in this as she seems. She is, mind you, I'm sorry I'm dominating this, but this shit has been on my mind like since I watched this episode. Lilandra is nominally a good guy. She and Professor X are in love, supposedly. They want to, spend their lives together. They want to rule the Shi'ar Empire together. Does she go to bat for him?
Nope.
In fact, the Deathbird's like, you have to take his memories too, or else you can't have him as your consort and be empress over the empire. So her privilege, and I understand Deathbird as the empress of the empire would suck, but she chooses her privilege, and she's going to be the one that kneecaps her love. That's not she's not an ally. She's basically saying, Charles, you have to change in order for us to be together. Not, hey, we're going to change the rules here because, fuck that. That is wrong. It's wrong to make you be not who you are. I mean, Lilandra's not good in this. I don't care what anyone says. She's not a good person in this. And
no, yeah, I agree. That's one of the things that I've noticed when I was watching it. And I was just like, is she not like, you're Empress? The fuck? You're Empress with the smallest voice. It's almost like it's almost like you're saying this, but deep down you're like, yeah, I really don't like that you're human, but I like you, so get rid of that human part.
It's worse than that. It's, even though you're human, I still love you. That's what it is. Yes. Even though you are human, that's substandard. That's you're a sub. You're not a total real person, but I am willing to lower myself, quote, lower myself, because I'm enlightened. Are you really? Are you really? This, I mean, like I said, this shit's dropping dimes left, right, and center. And we can get back to Storm. Obviously, she beats the adversary, because the adversary is pretty much, it's not her, it's an actual thing. An actual demon or whatever. Which, by the way, I wanted to point out, I love the fact that Forge used magic and it was Doctor Strange magic. Did you peep that? Yeah. I was like, oh shit, when did my man go to Comertage? But apparently other people do magic similar to that. Really dope that that MCU flair came into play. They're not, y'all ain't slick. I'm seeing what you're doing. I see what you're doing. But Ladi, she I think she's the goddess now, dog.
Yeah. She became her full form, like the one with the long hair and the dress. She became like, she was already Omega level threat. I guess she's Omega level plus threat now.
Omega level plus.
Yes.
But she went back. Her costume is the one from from 1975, the all new X-Men, when Chris Claremont took over the title. Really dope. And also, apparently, that bit where she was flying over the water was inspired by Man of Steel, which I think that's awesome. I love.
Yeah. I noticed that. I noticed that immediately. I was like, feels like Man of Steel.
Yeah, definitely. Oh my gosh, she's so badass. We talked a lot about Professor X because that's where a lot of the quote. That's don't be a menace to South Central message. That stuff was. I mean, he literally sat there and did a TED talk for a minute with those guys. But this is more of a lived experience as far as talking about that. Well, remember I was saying about, and she literally said, "Hey, I was making myself small," and I think it is kind of beautiful. Not just that she's a mutant doing that, but that she's a black woman who is immensely powerful. An immensely powerful black woman who is embracing her true power and deciding not to kneel or crouch or just kind of shrink down, but instead to stand tall in who she is and her power. And that ultimately is what allows her to beat the adversary, because she doesn't allow the lie that a simple and easy life will come from making other people comfortable being around, not just being around you, but comfortable seeing you as your authentic and powerful self. I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Just
I
go ahead.
I'm happy that Storm got her powers back. You know, I was like, yes, thank you. Turn that woman into barbecue chicken.
This is look, there's just a lot going on here. I mean, we could go on and on. I think there's a lot to sit and think about. I'm going to be thinking about this episode until the next one comes out. I'm going just every other hour. I'll just be like, man, that's a thing that I need to talk about. And I kind of love that right now it's such a thing in the kind of the nerd zeitgeist that everyone's sort of talking about this show and having conversations about what's being talked about. And Ladi, and I'm, by the way, if you're one of these people that missed some of this stuff, that's fine. It's good. You missed some of these deeper elements we were talking about, and in some ways, it's probably because you have a blind spot, right? You have never had to sort of think about these things. You've never had to diminish yourself to make other people feel comfortable. You never had to, change who you are to so that other people can accept you. None of that's. I get it. That hasn't been your experience. And that's what this show is sort of for, to make you aware of these things. And even if you missed them, that's what the discussion is for you to hear it from other people, what's really going on. And I hope that rather than being like the Shi'ar, you instead, are sort of, more like Gladiator, open to listening to what's going on, or, open to learning these perspectives you weren't aware of and broadening your mind and learning about, what other people are going through. Because the more people understand, more people empathize, the better things get. And X-Men will have served its purpose. So, and I don't mean to get on a soapbox, but I feel like the writers of the show aren't just trying to entertain you. They're trying to educate. And I think they're doing a great job. So anyway, Ladi.
Before we go, I have one last thing to say. Feel my pain and freedom. I am Onslaught. He's coming.
If I'm being perfectly honest, the way we're speed running some of the 80s, late 70s, or early to mid 80s, storylines heading into the 90s, I think that's pretty on point. There's 2 more seasons after this one, so I don't see why not. This is gonna happen. So that Professor X, at the end of this, Professor X definitely heading back to Earth. He's like, all right, well, if I got to choose between, appeasing your people and their racist bullshit and my X-Men, it's my X-Men, because Gambit's apparently really dead. We don't know about Magneto, but Gambit's dead, I guess.
And I just love how she was like, if you do this, you'll leave. Yes, woman, I'm here.
she's like,
did you not hear me?
Well, here's the fucked up thing. And she's like, we almost had the council convinced. And I'm like, if you motherfuckers need more convincing after this, sorry, you fail. You all get an F in this class. I shouldn't have to explain anything else to you. You should be like, you know what? What are we doing? You should be asked what he said. Because it's not a zero-sum game. To make yourself higher, you don't have to lower me. And if they don't fucking understand that at this point, then they are unreachable and unsavable. And Charles has got other shit to do. The X-Men still matter to him. You already tried to make him voluntarily give that shit up. You think he's gonna leave them in their time of crisis? You are crazy and also stupid. Y'all wouldn't leave other Shi'ar in the lurch. Why the fuck would he do that? Just so he can marry your queen? Man, fuck that noise. My man Charles Xavier, the way he was talking in this episode, I don't believe he ain't read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I don't believe he ain't read, letters from the Selma jail and various other liberation, revolutionaries and all that from around the world. My man is up on his shit. He is in his bag, as they say. And I'm all for it. So anyway, I could keep rambling. I'm not going to. So I think that's all of our thoughts on this episode. What did you guys think about it? What did you think about what we had to say? Get down to the comment section, leave your thoughts there. And of course, you can always hit us up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com. It's blerd_force1 on Threads and on Instagram, super_not_funny show on TikTok. While you're down there, do us a favor, hit like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. All that good stuff helps to grow this channel, helps more people to see reviews just like this. All right, thanks for joining us. Come back next week. We're going to be reviewing X-Men 97 Episode 7. It should be pretty epic. I'm looking forward to it. So until then, I've been Mo, your comment extraordinaire on all things pop culture, joined by the anime expert, video game designer, and lover of all things superhero, my good friend Ladi. We'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Peace.